3, 2, 1. Okay, so on to our next part, which is test-driven development, also known as TDD. And in this part, we'll make a simple Sinatra application that we'll try to post up to Heroku. And during this process, I'll introduce test-driven development to you in a real simple way. And one of the key tools for that is something called RSpec. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And let's get cracking. So this shouldn't be too difficult. So the first thing is, well, let me go through this first. So go get an account on Heroku if you don't have one already. And Heroku.com. So go to that link, get a free account on this site. Heroku's pretty cool. It's a hosting platform for multiple different kinds of technologies. They take care of all the DevOps type stuff for you behind the scenes, and you as a programmer, you just have to worry about doing your code. If you're familiar with Git, which you will be by the time I'm done with you, you won't have any problems with using their service. Everything else is very plug and play. It's very friendly. So, and again, it's free. So go ahead and sign up for that. I already have an account, so I'm not going to sign up again there. And what we'll do for this is we're going to, you will put your code under source control. Mine's already under source control, so I'm not going to do that again. We're going to create a gem file. We'll add RSpec and Sinatra to our gem file. We'll install the gems, and then we'll check our specs to see if we're passing. Now, what are specs? Actually, I should say something like specs test, right? Because specs are test, okay? So specs are this little file here, and I'll crack that open in just a moment. So the way we run that file is we'll run this command, bundle execute RSpec spec, and then these flags right after it, color and fail fast. And what that'll do is it'll run each of the tests that are inside of this file. This file contains many different tests for our code. And the way this works is, as each of these tests, like first let me identify a test for you. So here the first test is, in the context of us going to the root directory, right, just the slash, it needs to exist, right? Like, does the root directory exist? And this first test here on 15, on line 15, is specifying, expect that last response to be okay, to be equal to 200. All right, 200 is a HTTP response that means okay, that the thing that you're looking for is actually there. The next little chunk of this test, next line of logic in this test is specify that the body, the body response includes hello world, right? So that's the first check. It's checking that hello world is somewhere on the page, on the root of the website, on the front page of the website. Okay. Same test is saying if we go to this location, my last name, my first name, that route exists, and that when we go there, that we'll get this string, right, somewhere on the page, and on and so forth, right, for the last two tests. So RSpec is the tool that we'll be using for this, and here on line 6 you see that it's actually creating this object for us, right, defining this object for us, I should say. So RSpec.describe into hello world app, include rack test methods, and it allows us to knock this out, right? We have a nice little require the main, whatever the main directory is, and files in that directory, and a gem called rack test, which we'll install along with our gems as well. Okay. All right. So that is what's the deal with that little file. And the way we run that file, each time we build a test, the ideal test-driven development is you think about what you want to make, right? Then you pseudocode it, okay? You say, okay, I want when I go to this one location on the site, I want this code, this particular string to be there, right? Then you turn that pseudocode into a test. You just rewrite it using special terminology that is according to the test frameworks library, to convert that pseudocode into computer language that the test understands. And testing language is very much like just plain English, right? They try to make it as much as close to English as possible. So you run the test will fail, meaning that the thing doesn't exist, and then you create the thing so the test passes. Okay. That way you are self-documenting everything that you're doing in your code, and this helps to do a number of things. It helps to minimize your having to put comments in your code, okay, that explain what this method, what this class, what this module over here is doing, and all that kind of jazz. And instead it creates a piece of code that's responsible to both explain and prove that this little area of this little portion of code that you've written does this particular thing. Okay, so there's no way. There's a bit of a thing. There's a bit of a. Some people feel controversial about testing. They think that it slows down the process of development. If you are doing professional software engineering, okay, and in any company, right, you're going to be writing documentation for your code one way or the other. Okay, they're either going to have you write it out. Your bosses are either going to have you write it out, right? What you intend to implement before you actually implement it in code, right? Before they let you do it, before you have to tell them what you're going to do. Guess what? You're writing documentation, right? And then you implement it, okay? And then it gets checked by your peers in code review, okay? Versus you write the freaking documentation as a test. Okay, then the test gets done, the documentation gets done, and the next engineer that has to pick up your code behind you, right, months later, or when you're on a different project, or even yourself, 6 months later down the line, after you've written something, you're not going to remember what the heck you wrote. Especially if you're a polyglot, and guess what? If your main language is Python or Java or Ruby or, I don't know, pick a language, and you also have to do some JavaScript from here now and again, or whatever, you're going to step away from your code base. You're going to be doing something else for a number of weeks or months on a different project. You have to come back to that code base to see what the heck you did, and you're going to forget. Okay, so do your documentation. Test-driven, I can't even get the words out. Test-driven development is beneficial, if for nothing else, than to help you remember what the heck it is you meant for your code to do when you wrote it. Okay. All right. So enough of that. Off my soapbox on that issue. So let's go back here to the README. All right. And then so each time we run that file, we have to run this command: bundle execute rspec. And then spec just tells it where that folder, to look into the spec folder, right? Because that code is actually sitting inside of a folder. Give us some color back and for it to fail fast. So when it hits the first failing test, to give us a response, okay? So what's next up? Write the Sinatra app we have specified in our spec file. Add rackup, and we'll do that in the gems. Show that it works in the browser, make sure everything is committed, and then we'll create a Heroku app using Heroku create. The first time you do Heroku create, you'll have to authenticate yourself. I won't do that because I've already done this before. Heroku will add itself as a remote repository to your Git repo, and then you can just do a push command. You just do a push the repo to Heroku with git push Heroku master, and then you open up that sucker with Heroku open, and then it'll show you the app in your browser on Heroku via your website. So Okay, so let's get cracking on that. So let's see. We're going to open up our test file here, and then I'm going to close the sidebar here. Yeah. So let's see. Let's close the sidebar, and I'm going to split the window. So we have our test on one side, and we have our test that we're going to be testing with on the other. Oh wait, but we have to create those files, don't we? So I'm going to switch over to our term, and okay, all right. So let's see. Let's do okay, yeah. So the username thing is in there. Okay, cool. So let's create our gem file. And we're also going to need a main.rb file. Okay, cool. Now let's go back over to MegaM and let's go up here to the top. And actually, I'm right here. Just reload. Refreshing done. Sure about that, buddy? Reload. Okay, there we go. All right. So there's a gem file. Let's open up the gem file. Okay. And in the gem file, we're going to tell it where we want to grab our gems from. Because we love Ruby gems. Everybody and their mother loves Ruby gems. And now we're going to add some gems. So first gem will be Sinatra. And let's see, I want a specific version of Sinatra. Now, I remember the version of Sinatra that I want here. But remember that you can always just go to Ruby Gems and plug that in there, right? Sinatra, just like we did before. And you can grab it, grab it here from the clipboard. All right, so that version of Sinatra, and who's the next one? We want RSpec. I should probably show you. RSpec site. Yeah. And lastly, we want this thing called rack test. Rack test. Put this sucker in here. Rack test. Alright, so yeah. Okay. Now let's go to two of these cats who are new. So let's go to RSpec. So I can explain BDD for Ruby, right? BDD stands for behavior driven development. Okay. Very similar to test driven development. You write the test first, you write the code. Behavior driven is just you write the test and then does the code behave as expected. Okay. So anyway, so here's RSpec's site on GitHub. RSpec, we'll be using RSpec with Rails later on. RSpec expectations, RSpec core. RSpec is this whole suite. RSpec active model mocks, fun stuff there. Collection matches. RSpec is this whole suite of tests. Remember I said that the specs have a specific type of language, right? So this is where you find that language, okay? When you're trying to figure out how do I write these sentences out, what does an RSpec sentence look like, right? A good resource, I think I've got this still sitting up here, yeah. A good resource for a number of years was this site called relishapp.com. So put that in your notes. That's a little homework, is to go to this site and click around on it and just kind of like investigate it. But it's a really good site for seeing different kinds of test written out and how all that jazz works. Okay, so go back. I'm gonna go back to where we were playing around with before here. Oh yeah, one more. I want to show you one more. So this other one that we've got is rack test, right? So rack test is a small, simple testing API for rack apps that can be used on its own or as a reusable starting point for web frameworks and testing libraries to build on. Most of its initial functionality is an extraction of MERB 1.0's request helper feature. Like who's MERB? No, we're going to find out about that later on. But anyway, so home page. Check out rack test. Okay, rack test this page on GitHub as well. Contains a cookie jar, cross requests, easily follow redirects when desired, set request headers. So, again, just kind of poke around this, check it out, read through the README, just kind of get a better understanding of what it's about. I won't go through that in detail right here, right now, but let's go back. Okay, so we've got our gem file set up, and that means we need to bundle, right? So let's bundle our gems. There was an error parsing gem file, ill-formed requirement to, oh, I see. So yeah, you need that. Okay, bundle. Okay, so all the bundling is taking place. Okay, now we have a bundle.lock file. Great. Let's see here. Bundle install. So we got that groovy. Now, who else do we need? Let's go back to our README file here. Oh, actually, let me do this instead. Let's go back to our README file. What's the next thing on our README file? So it's gonna add our specs, Sinatra, the gem file, install the gems. Check our specs test to see if they are passing. Okay, all right. So let's go back to our specs. Fantastic. And now let's actually run our test to see if they are passing. So we run this test by running this crazy command. Crazy long command. Bundle exec rspec spec fail fast. Yeah. Okay, so it's looking inside the spec directory. Error occurred while loading username spec.rb. Set environment test. No method error. Undefined method set for main object. Did you mean send? Okay, so username spec line 4. No examples found. Okay, so line 4 set environment test. Okay, so it did not like that for some reason. So what is the deal here? Now, the opposite file that we need to have. Remember I said that each test, they all should fail, right? And then you have to write some code to make the test pass. Well, the file that we have to write the code to is the one that we are referring to at the top line here, main, and that's the one that we did the touch on earlier. So that will be this guy, main.rb. So open up. So main.rb. Okay. So now we have main.rb, and that should be let's see, now why isn't she, oh yeah, now let's look at that error message again. Set and say error occurred while loading, username spec, failure error, set environment test. Now why is that freaking out like that on us here? Okay, set environment test. So what's the deal there? let's do something. Let me see if, because first let me get this. Let me at least get the first 2 pages going here. Sinatra. So let's see if you are able to see this other file, because I know that this first line should fail because this thing isn't even configured to load Sinatra on this page yet. So let's see. Does this change the outcome of that one? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, we just need to hook up the plumbing. Okay, so create the main.rb file, and then add require.sinatra at the top. So now that the test file can actually see the main.rb file, and Sinatra can be loaded inside that RB file. Okay. Now what? Oh yeah, let's run the freaking test. So we ran the test and it fails. Yay! The hello world app get slash should be okay. Response should be okay, and it's not. We get all this wonderful gobbledygook. I have to admit that this particular test, this sucks because it comes out in this, hardly readable. I mean, unless you know what you're looking at, which I do. I know, if you're a new person, you're gonna be like completely blunt, like what the heck is that? All right, mock response, and then everything is in HTML. It's got these crazy, ASCII things happening here. It's like, what's the deal there? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Did I just automatically like copy and paste it there? Yeah, so it looks crazy. But what basically is happening there on that first one is that the route doesn't exist. So of course it's going to fail, right? So let's make that route exist. So let's bring that back up, and we're going to go down here, give it a line here, and we're going to say get, and we're going to put that slash there, and we're going to make our little route here. And okay, well, let's see if I just put the route there, because I was about to put the hello world there, but I want to see if just putting the route there changes the error. And yes, it does. Okay, so now we have a passing test. See how it's green here, and we have a failing one right after that, and then we don't see the rest of the test because we told it to fail fast, right? Like what? Let me show you what happens if we did this and we just said, hey, color, and we did this. See, it would show us all the failing other tests as well, and the results for those. And that gets kind of like, what the frack? What the actual heck? Okay, so I'm gonna have to edit that crap out. Crap. Okay, are we still recording? Check. Shit, check. Test. God damn it. Fuck. Okay. Okay, so alright, so we passed the first one, we failed the next one, and now we can see that this we got a better look at error message, right? It's like, okay, I can see the it's telling you that it can see this route, right? It's got the route is okay. So that's the first one that's passing, is this test here. So that's passing, but this part here is failing, right? The hello world part. So if we just do something like actually put hello world in here, then the test will pass, right? So let me clear that screen, and now I'll just run this sucker again. And now the second test passes, okay? So now it's going down to the next test, right? UncleFonso should be okay, right? It's going down to this one. And it's looking for this path. So we create this path. And then we run this test. Now that test passes. See, there's 3 dots now. Now we have, it's looking for the internals of that one, right? Should include this little bit of business here, right? Okay, well, I'll just put that little business there. Then I'll run the test again. Now you can see it increments. Now if that one passes, now the next one fails. Now it's looking for another endpoint, right? It's like, I don't see this. I don't see this endpoint now, right? This route doesn't exist. So we make that route exist. And then this test passes. It should pass. Okay, now it's looking for this response, right? Okay, and on and on and on. Okay, so now we have the I think this is the last one. Yeah, Matsumoto. Okay, so same thing with Matsumoto. It's like, I don't see that, and I don't see that route. And it's looking for, it's gonna look for a response. Let me run it first. Expecting that response. Okay, now they all pass, right? Okay, so your tests are written, your test can be written in a way where it's just, it's saying at this location, I expect this output, right? I expect this response. At this location, I expect this response and this output. At this location, I expect, this response, okay, to be 200, and this output to be on the page. So on and so on and so on, right? So, so that's generally how that works. It gets more complicated and a lot more interesting than that as we go along. Different kinds of tools to be used to test different aspects of a much larger application. But generally, that's what's going on. You write a test that fails, you write code to make the test pass, and then you move on to the next test until you progress through all of the tests that you've got. Okay, so let's see. I think our next thing now is if we get you growing up on Heroku. Oops. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, committed, Sinatra, Heroku, it's committed, okay, so before I do the Heroku create thing, let's actually open up a page here. I want to see, because there's still some stuff that needs to be done, but let's see, we'll main this guy. Oh, you know what? Hang on, I still have the old, still got the old app from the previous lesson running in the background. Sorry about that. Anybody else running now? Okay, cool. So let's try it again. Okay, so now if we go to this page this time, hello world, right? Okay, now if I go to There's fonts gets returned, right? Matsumoto, etc. Right? Okay. Now I can make this so just with parameters I can make it so that you can enter in any last name / first name, and then that would be rendered into the results, right? So we could do that as well. But let's go ahead and do the Heroku bit. So let's see. Make sure everything's committed. Heroku create. So I'm gonna stop this guy. I may have actually already done Heroku create. So let me test that by doing Heroku open. Okay, cool. So I didn't. Okay, so Heroku create. So Heroku create will create a one of those crazy Heroku names for you, right? And now we've got the create. First time we do this, and then get push Heroku master. Now, one thing I didn't do during this whole time is really, and I should have been doing this, I guess, along with you, so you just kind of understand the flow, the real flow, is to do a get add. So get add, and then get commit. While I was doing this whole process, right, and then you do a get push Heroku master versus what we would have done if we were push Heroku master. Because I did not do Heroku create. Yes. Oh, wait, I just did Heroku create. Oh, this is what I get for skipping my own steps. Okay. Let's see. Get create. Heroku create. First time we do this, we need authentication. Yeah, Heroku create. Yeah, we did Heroku create. So wait, we did Heroku create, but it didn't read it. That's weird. Oh, maybe because I need to open up a new shell. That might be the deal. Repository, you cannot read from the repository. Please make sure. Okay. Let's see here. So I'm wondering if I need to just grab this code and put it into a different directory outside of the main lessons directory, just for the sake of this test here. So let me do this real quick. I'm going to do something like cd Sinatra. To record address, I'll put that. Sinatra Heroku. Yeah, let's do this. Let's make a directory. Yeah, let's do that. And here I'm going to do this. Plink. Okay, and we're going to do this. Plink. Oops. Oops. Where did I just go? Okay, that was weird. Alright. So I'm going to grab all these cats, copy, and I'm going to paste them over into this other directory here. Because I think that my local Git, the way I have Git configured for all the lessons in this whole section, right, are all under one other Git, like a different Git commit altogether. And I don't want to try to do a Heroku create in a specialized Git situation just for this particular subfolder, because I think that's what's conflicting here. So I'm going to do this the right way instead of trying to shortcut this. And I'm going to grab this code and put it in its own folder over here. And from here, close that stuff out. Now from here, I should see all these cats. Great. Okay. Let's do getting it. Woohoo! Get at all. Yeah. Get commit. Yeah. Let's see. Heroku test. Get commit. Yeah. Okay. Groovy. Now Heroku create. Forgive me. I'm doing all these all at once. The whole sequence. Heroku create. Okay. Now this will create my Heroku app. Okay. Groovy. Heroku create. Now, after we've got Heroku create, who else do we need? Make sure everything is committed. Create. Heroku create. Okay. Cool. First time you do this, you'll have to authenticate yourself. Okay. Push the repo to Heroku. Get push Heroku master. Okay. Now. Now will that work? Okay. Yeah. Now it's working. Okay. Groovy sauce. All right. And Heroku open, I believe is the last one, right? Yeah. Now let's see if we got at least something happening in the Heroku open region here. Application error. Error occurred. Application in your page cannot be served. Check the logs for details. Okay, my friend, what is happening here? So let's go back and make sure that nobody else is running. Okay, cool. I'm gonna say Ruby main. First of all, you run locally. Okay, yeah, you're running locally. All right, groovy. Server can run. Is the page running? Yes. Okay. So that is running locally. Okay. Why is that happening? Why is that giving us an error? Okay. All right. So let's see. So we're going to Control C that, and going to hit Heroku logs. Starting process with command bundle exec. Process status 1. Configuration app configured out of RU backup not found. State change from starting to crashed. Aha. We need rack up. Okay. All right. So let's do that. Heroku. We got to touch. touch. What's the name of the doggone file? Touch. Got to config.ru, right? I think that's touch config.ru. I believe that's our guy. config.ru, and wait, I did just grab this file. Oh, because I'm not in the same location. Okay, all right, close that. Forgotten. We moved all that, didn't we? So let's move this over here and say, there we go. Okay, config.ru. Come on, config.ru. Okay, cool. And we're going to acquire Ruby gems. We have to create a config.ru file so that we can use this thing called rackup, which is what Heroku is looking for. So it's basically just a special file that calls your main program, right? It runs that. So Sinatra application. Did I have that spell right? Application. How you spell it right? Okay, there we go. All right. And what that will allow us to do is do this, rack up. Is it rack up config or run config? I think it's rack up config. Oops, see, somebody else is listening. Somebody else is running. Okay, so close out the other people that are running. Let's run it again. Okay, groovy. All right, so he's running here locally. Fantastic. 92. Okay, cool. Is he running? Okay, yay. Okay, great. All right, so now he's running there. So we'll close him out, and we'll add that stuff on Git. Then we'll do git commit to say we added rack up. Fantastic. And then we'll do a git push Heroku master. Now when we open the special page, it should show us our nice little application working. Yay! Okay, hello world, yay! Fantastic, alright, so now we do this. And that's yay! Alright, okay, cool. Alright. So, a little bump in the road there with getting a rack up going on Heroku, but that's the deal, you know. It's oh yeah, and you got to see, because of that bump, you get to see me use another command called Heroku logs, which shows you what's happening on your development server there, so you can see your errors and whatnot and find out what you need to do to fix it. So that's it. That's a basic test-driven development sample, as basic as I can make it here. And there you go. So next up, we'll start talking about Rails. So that's it for the Sinatra basics, the Sinatra sampler. Sinatra does a whole lot more stuff. You can add as much as you can do with Rails. I believe you can do with Sinatra. It's just that you have to do it step by step. Once we get into start doing Rails in the next set of videos, you know, we'll be able to do a whole lot of stuff just right off the bat without having to go about hunting down tools and whatnot to plug into our system. The system will already have all those things with it. Okay, so that's it. And next up will be on to Ruby on Rails itself.